Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Andy here. I went from depressed and suicidal to living a life of abundance and joy. If I can do it, you sure as hell can too. And today I sat on an ant's nest. Highly don't recommend. My leg is red as hell and in a lot of pain. So we've all learned something. Don't sit on an ant's nest. And with that life lesson out of the way, a coaching client of mine that I did coaching with earlier last year, his name is Dmitry, this lovely human being right here. We sat down and we did an interview together about a year ago. Look at that happy little man. And what we helped Dmitry with was building a business. He ended up starting his own coaching business similar to what I do. He made a ton of money. He had a whole bunch of mindset and happiness and peace shifts. And I think that was the main thing that we worked on with Dmitry more than anything else. And you can go watch this original interview. You can just search on my channel. It's called This Guy Made Money, Found Peace and Happiness, had sex. Oh yeah, he had sex as well. Had some beautiful intimate experiences with some women and started a coaching business. So love Dmitry. And he sent a little follow-up email updating us about his life. So I thought it'd be fun to read this out, go through some of the stuff that he's been up to, because I know some of you like when I interview old coaching clients or past coaching clients, and it's fun to get a little bit of an update and see what some of these beautiful human beings have been up to in the time since coaching ended. So he sent me this email. He sent me this a couple of months ago, and this is roughly about 9 months after the coaching ended with us. So he says, "Hey, Andy." And by the way, I have his full permission to read this out. In fact, he suggested that I read it out if I wanted to. "Hey, Andy, it's Dmitry from the coaching at the beginning of this year. I wanted to say that I am so grateful to you, and I'm grateful to you, Mr. Dmitry. You truly changed my life as I couldn't even imagine. Starting from 4 years ago when I found your blog, all the time you were the most supportive person in my life through articles and podcasts before I even talked to you in person. You set me head on the self-improvement path, and it is a blast." I love that. I love when someone first finds self-improvement. Like when I myself first realized, wait, you don't have to be stuck in your mindsets and your behaviors. You're allowed to improve things. You're allowed to change things. You're allowed to have what I call a growth mindset. And I talked about growth mindsets versus fixed mindsets in my video course. So in my Play to Win video course, I have a whole section where I talk about, most people in society have what's known as a fixed mindset. They believe that their situations are fixed. They often feel stuck. They feel unable to improve. And they tend to view themselves as, well, I guess this is just the way that I am, rather than I can improve and change things if I want to. And a growth mindset, or someone that has a growth mindset, is somebody who believes I have the power to change. I can pick my own goals. If I'm not happy with something, I can take action to improve it. Every day, I just want to be a little bit better than I was the day before or the week before. If I don't like a situation, I'm allowed to walk away from it. I get to choose who's in my life and who's not. So all of these beautiful mindsets that come from sort of realizing or embracing a growth mindset. And I myself, when I first realized all of these things that, that I put in my video course, that I put in my content, that you're allowed to change, man, that was such a revelation for me. So I always get very excited when we meet someone who's sort of starting on the self-improvement path. And obviously at this point, Dimitri's been improving for years and years and years, but he's been doing it for 4 years, as he says. But man, I get so excited when I first read a comment from one of you, and you say, all right, I think that I'm going to start with this new goal and I'm really scared. I'm going to take some baby steps. I'm going to just get started. I'll point out a recent example. This one here was on one of my BDSM videos. "Thank you for this video. Being shy and as of a submissive nature, how do I actually go to events to meet people when I am a single 50-something-year-old woman? I have signed up for one of the sites you mentioned, and I want to go." So I get really excited when somebody first starts a goal like this, and they've taken that first little baby step, like signing up for a website like FetLife or trying some BDSM. Sometimes I'll get comments from people saying, "Holy crap, I've signed up for a gym. I'm going to start this weight loss thing." Man, I get really excited when someone first starts self-improvement. So I know I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but I think I get most excited by people who are new to self-improvement or who've first started realizing, wow, if I want something, I'm allowed to have it. Now, it will require that I take certain actions to get it. It might take a little bit of time. I might have some setbacks. I might need to learn and grow and evolve and try new things and all of that. But I'm allowed to have the things that I want. That's like such a beautiful realization, because I can still, like I said, remember when I first had that realization when I was super depressed. and my life completely fell apart. And I first went to a counselor or a psychologist, and they started teaching me things like cognitive behavioral therapy, which is basically just, it's what I put in my video course. This chapter of my video course, everything is a story and you're in control of the stories you tell. That's basically cognitive behavioral therapy. This chapter in the video course, everything that happens to me is good. That's also cognitive behavioral therapy. So cognitive behavioral therapy, if you're not aware, is basically when you have a negative thought in your head, you just say a positive one to go along with it. This is also known as like reframing, or, there's all these different tools that create the same thing. All right, let's get back to this thing. I tend to get a little bit off track, don't I? Dmitry goes on to say, and then I was in the coaching program where it finally clicked and made everything fall into the right place. The desire for self-acceptance, peace, and happiness, which you saw in me from the start. Yeah, I really did. I'll talk about that in a second. And which I discovered in the end, thanks to you, was transforming. Yeah, so Dmitry was one of the people that came to us, and there are a lot of people that do this, where they come to us and they have all these big ambitions and all of these goals and these things that they think will make them happy. And goals are wonderful. Obviously, I have a million goals myself and lots of things I want to explore and try and do and all of that. But Dmitry was one of those people where the secret to his happiness, and it's not a secret, but the answer to his happiness wasn't going to be achieving more things. In fact, he was someone that was very hard on himself and very ambitious and put a lot of pressure on himself, like a lot of people do. I, at times, do that as well. And so for people like that, a little bit of self-love, a little bit of slowing down, a little bit of self-acceptance and some peace and some surrendering and some letting go and taking off some of that pressure and taking breaks. That was something that we drilled into him. We helped him realize the value of taking at least 1 or 2 days off every single week, because that was something he didn't do. So there are some people that come to us wanting us or expecting us, us the coaching program or us the community, to help them do even more. But for certain people, the answer to their happiness is do less. And that might be some of you. Some of you might be missing a little bit of self-acceptance, or there might be an opportunity for you to give yourself a little bit of self-acceptance, a little bit of love, a little bit of chill, in other words. For some of you, you're doing crazy shit. Like, I work with some clients that are just doing insane shit, like multi-millionaires. I've worked with a guy that was making like 45 grand a month and just like all of this crazy stuff, And for some of those people, the answer isn't do more. It's actually do less. And Dmitry was absolutely one of those people. He goes on to say, what you, Cam, Ravi, and all of our guys gave me in coaching was incredibly helpful for me this year, and will be for the rest of my life. That last sentence is basically the mission with coaching and the mission with this content on this channel and my blog and Spotify as well, which is to sort of give you the tools or give you some of the strategies, give you some of the thinking patterns and stuff like that will help you for the rest of your life. I say this all the time. I'm not here to tell any of you what to think or what to do. I'm not your fucking dad. And I mean that with love when I say that. What I am here to do is teach you how to think rather than what to think. So I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to give you the tools so that you can figure out what you want to do. So all of that is to say, I try and set people up as best as I can for the rest of their life, or I try and give them stuff that will help them for the rest of their life. My mission isn't just to, get your dick wet, or if you're a woman, get your vagina filled, or get your wallet filled, or, get you to lose some weight. That stuff is wonderful, and those goals are amazing, and they add a lot of value to your life. But my mission and my goal and the purpose of all of this stuff is to give you stuff that'll make you happy for the rest of your life. And I can't guarantee that, obviously, but that is kind of the goal. That is the mission. We're here for the long haul. I am obviously have so much yet to learn to be good at it. Yeah, don't we all, my friend? We're all a work in progress. I am just as much as everybody else, obviously. And I had the rough period for half of this year where I was feeling low energy, down, and lonely. Yeah, that happens sometimes. I feel like that from time to time. But all that time, I knew that everything is going to be okay. And I didn't worry much. I didn't make myself suffer. No matter what happened and how hard it was, I was never hopeless. I actually enjoyed every moment, loved and supported myself from my internal core. Yeah, this is not a small thing, guys. Understand this is like a very big thing. Like, even when you're suffering, he literally said, okay, he didn't say suffering, but even when you're sad, he said, I was having a rough period. I was feeling low energy, down, and lonely. Most people would say, I was feeling low energy, down, and lonely, and that's awful. That sucks. This is terrible. I need to fix it. I hate this. But Dmitry was able to say, and everything's okay. It's okay. I'm not too stressed. Yeah, I'm low energy. I'm down. I'm lonely. But that's okay. I'm not going to make myself suffer. One thing that we say a lot in the coaching program is at the end of someone's sentence, we will say, and that's okay. So you would say, I'm feeling low energy, I'm down, I'm lonely, and that's okay. I had a really bad day at work and I'm really angry and I hate my boss, and that's okay. We had a big argument with my girlfriend, and that's okay. I want to quit my job. I fucking hate working there, and that's okay. In other words, what we're saying is your feelings are okay. Like if you're feeling low energy, you're feeling down and lonely, yeah, that's reasonable. You're a human being. Welcome to humanity. Sometimes we feel low energy, down and lonely. If you had a fight with your girlfriend, yeah, most people have fights with their partners. That's okay. And from that place of that's okay, you can then do something about it. You can say, okay, so I'm okay. It's okay to be low energy and down and lonely. What would I like to do about that? Would I like to go and talk to some more people? Would I like to spend time with myself? Would I like to work through my feelings of loneliness? Would I like to take up a hobby? Would I like to work on my self-improvement? Would I like to try getting a girlfriend? Would I like to date multiple people? Would I like to do nothing at all? And as Dmitry said, just trust that everything will be okay, because that's an answer sometimes. Time often heals wounds. So I love that he's able to embrace this. And as he said, I actually enjoyed every moment. Yeah, when you can get to a point in your life when even when you're feeling low energy, down and lonely, you can still enjoy that and participate in it. Man, life is just absolutely beautiful at that point. In other words, when you can fully embrace the mindset that I have in my video course, this one here, everything that happens to me is good. Man, life is just such a fucking beautiful gift. If your boss can scream at you and you can be like, wow, my boss is teaching me patience. And my boss is teaching me that I want to be kinder to other people because it doesn't feel good when my boss screams at me. Cool. Thanks, boss. Thank you for screaming at me. You've taught me that I don't want to work here, so I'm going to leave now. Thank you. That's a nice lesson. When you can have someone cut you off in traffic and go, oh, that's cool. That person is teaching me patience. And to not just expect everybody on the road to operate the exact way that I want them to. Cool, they're teaching me humility. I'm not that important. Sometimes people are going to cut me off. Some other people are going to have somewhere they want to be, and maybe I'm not that important. Maybe they think they're more important than me. Cool, that's teaching me some humility. So when you can see everything that happens in life as good or possibly good, or maybe there's a silver lining if I just look hard enough for it, or maybe I can tell a story that this could possibly be good for me if I can figure out how it could be good for me. Man, life is just a lot smoother. And then you don't get so bothered by being low energy or down or lonely or annoyed or sad or tired or grumpy or any of that. You're just like, it is what it is. I'm tired today. Cool. In other words, you can show yourself a lot more patience and kindness and not beat yourself up for not always feeling amazing. So I love that. And this was definitely something that we helped Dmitry with a lot in the coaching. This was like the main thing that we worked on. He and I did a lot of calls. We did some one-on-one calls. We did 12 or something one-on-one calls. And a lot of the calls were about this stuff where he would come to me with feelings of anger or frustration or any of that. And I would say, I'd basically sit there and say, that's okay. I understand why you're angry. You have all these hopes and dreams and they haven't been met yet. I understand why you beat yourself up. I understand why you put pressure on yourself. You're a high achiever. You want to achieve things. In other words, if I could show him some understanding and get him to show himself some understanding, or show him that it's possible to show himself some understanding, a lot of peace came from that. And funnily enough, he achieved a hell of a lot more. You achieve a lot more when you are okay with how you're feeling and who you are and all that self-love good stuff. So he goes on to say, update of what was happening in my life. I didn't follow through on my second video 365-day project. I stopped at 110. Yeah, so for full context of what he's talking about here, he did a 365-day project. So he did photography, and he took one photo every single day, and he did these heavily photoshopped, beautiful pieces of art, and man, they were really amazing. I tried to find my computer for some of them. Here's a couple of the ones that he sent me. So he'd just have these really cool Photoshop ideas, and he did one every single day for a year, which was absolutely amazing. And he then went on and immediately started a second one. And obviously he said he stopped at day 110. And he said, and I paused all my business stuff that I was working on. He's talking about, his coaching that he was doing. It was a very challenging choice because of my ego nagging me. Am I a failure if I stop this? Though looking back, I made the right decision. Yeah, this happens a lot. This is called the sunk cost fallacy, where you're halfway through a goal. Like, here he says he was 110 days into a 365-day project, and you feel like you've sunk a lot of time and energy and effort into this thing, and you're hesitant to stop it because you're like, well, it'd be a waste. I would have wasted all that time. Understand that there is no wasting time. There is no failure. As he says here, am I a failure? There is no failure. You learned something, you tried something, it either worked or it didn't work, but you've learned something, you've gathered some information. And in his case, doing 110 photos that, again, look like this, they're really cool photos, 110 of them, you literally have practiced your skills as a photographer, as a photoshopper. You've learned, you've evolved, you've grown, and you've learned, I don't want to finish it. I want to stop at 110 days. And funnily enough, I did the same thing. So if you're not familiar, I did my own 365-day project many, 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 many years ago. And you can find it if you just search for Handy Andy Pandy. I've got a website, handyandypandy.com. That's my photographer pseudonym. And I did one every single day, uploaded every single day. I did not miss a day. And I did the same as Dmitry. I did these like heavily photoshopped, photos that some of them would take me like freaking 12 hours and stuff to do. I had a lot of fun with them, and they got progressively more and more, I guess you'd say, over the top. Like this one here, I literally covered an entire room in newspaper from floor to ceiling, and then I covered myself in newspaper, and then I sat down to read the newspaper. And yes, I actually did all this. This is not photoshopped, like some parts of Photoshop, like those lights are not really floating, and neither is that painting, but the newspaper itself is real. So anyway, I did a 365-day project. And then months after I finished it, I started a second 365-day project. And same thing again, I was doing all these heavily photoshopped photos. I like this one. I made my head into a balloon. I do all these like heavily photoshopped photos, and then I stopped. If I scroll all the way down to the bottom, I stopped right here on day 61. And I did this photo here, and it was me just looking kind of serious and kind of sad. And that was it. I stopped. I stopped on the 61st or the 62nd day. And yeah, I had all the same sort of thoughts. Like, am I a failure? Like, am I bad for stopping this? Does this mean I'm giving up? Am I quitting? But no, I didn't want to continue, so I stopped. And so I love that he's able to listen to that inner voice inside him, which says, I don't want to do this. I want to take a break from the business stuff. I want to stop at 110 days. At the end of the day, guys and girls, realize nobody is giving you some sort of checklist or some sort of scorecard. This isn't a test. Life isn't a test. I know a lot of people, there's certain books, I know most religions say that life is a test and, you're going to go to purgatory and all of your sins are going to be weighed against God and all of that kind of stuff. Sure, fine. Believe that if you would like to. But my experience is that life isn't a test. Nobody's checking to say, did you finish your 365-day project or did you stop at day 110? Did you work on your business or did you pause your business stuff? It's my experience that generally speaking, especially with small stuff like this, we're not talking about the decision between raping someone versus being Mother Teresa, right? We're talking about the decision of finishing a 365-day project or pausing your business stuff. They're very simple decisions. There isn't a scorecard. There isn't a correct answer. There is no even this statement here, there is no right decision. The right decision is the right decision for you. In other words, whatever you want to do. So I know that sometimes these decisions can come with a lot of weight and pressure that we put on ourselves. Exactly what Dmitry said. It is your ego. It's the ego part of you going, am I a failure if I stop this? Am I bad if I pause this? No, nothing bad happens. Realize that life is an experiment. Life is a fun game. Life is play. And at the end of the day, you can do whatever the hell you want. There is no right or wrong decision, especially for things like this, really small stuff like this. So I love that he's able to listen to what he wants. Says, I freed that mental headspace for the rest of my life. I could take a step back and look that I was going through the motions, that it wasn't what I actually want in my life at this point in time. Yeah, this happens sometimes. We decide to do something and maybe it's a brilliant decision at the start and we're really enjoying it. We're getting a lot from it. And then you get halfway through it and you go, I don't think this is adding to my life anymore. I think all the lessons that I wanted to learn, I've already learned. And anything on top of this, I don't think I would actually learn any extra. Again, this is basically why I stopped, this one, the 365-day project I did. The second one, I stopped it on day 62 because I was like, I think I've learned everything that I want to learn. Like, I did a 365-day project, and I finished it, and I didn't miss a single day, and I did it every single day for a year. And then I've done 2 more months of this one, 61 days. I don't know what more I need to learn. I'm already a competent photographer. I'm a competent Photoshopper. I obviously have great creative ideas. I've shown myself that I have discipline to do something every day for a year. This was my first 365-day project. I have since done 2 more. One of them was a podcast every single day. So that's over on my Spotify. So you can find me on Spotify under the same name, Kill Your Inner Loser. I have done a lot of episodes. I believe there's like 500 episodes or something. Anyway, I did a whole 365-day project of that. And then I did a 365-day project of just any content I wanted. So I did a mix of YouTube videos, of shorts, of Spotify episodes, of blog articles over on my blog. So I've done 365-day projects at this point in time. But with this photography one, I got to a point with the second one where I was like, I've learned everything that I want to learn with photography. I can stop now. And that can be very difficult, right? Like sometimes you're, like I said, in the middle of taking action. You're in the middle of doing something that at the start was really giving you a lot of progress and a lot of happiness and joy. And it was great. It was brilliant. But you get to a point where you're like, I don't think this is what I want in my life anymore. And I love that Dmitry was able to figure that out and notice that and go, I don't think I want this anymore. I think I want to take a little bit of a break. And this can come up in relationships too, right? Like how many people stay in a relationship long after they've gotten a lot of joy and a lot of happiness and a lot of growth and all of that out of the relationship. But maybe at this point, it just isn't what they want anymore. Or it's not bringing them happiness. It's not adding to their life. Now it's starting to take away from their life. But because they have what is called sunk cost fallacy, they sunk all this time, all this commitment, all this energy, all this love into this relationship, they think, well, I can't leave because wouldn't that mean that it's a waste? Why would it be a waste? Did you not benefit from it? Are you not glad that you did it? Now it's time to move on. Also, it would be a waste if I left, or, it would be a waste if I stopped this 365-day project and, took a break from the business. So the answer to it would be a waste if I stop is, so let me waste more time by staying. So it's a funny human psychology thing that we do with sunk cost fallacy. People obviously do it with friendships as well. Maybe they had friends from high school or college or after that, and these friends used to be great for them, but maybe the friend just isn't adding to your life anymore, or maybe you're not adding to your friend's life, whatever. Maybe you two just aren't, adding a lot of value to each other's lives anymore, and you're not really enjoying the friendship. But people will say, well, they've been my friend for the last 20 years. So I guess I should keep hanging out with them, even though I don't want to. And resentment builds, and, I'm not really enjoying my time with this person, but why would I leave? It's my friend. And so it can be a bit of a human psychological fallacy, I guess, where we get stuck in things and we go, well, I shouldn't leave though, because everything would be a waste. Why would it be a waste? You're just now ready to move on to the next chapter of your life. Besides, think about your entire life and all the chapters you've lived, infancy, childhood, later childhood, early adolescence, later adolescence, your 20s, your 30s, and if you're older than that, your 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever. Each of those chapters has been likely very distinct, and those ages change depending on the person. But you're not sitting there going, oh, I really should keep wearing nappies, wearing diapers, and shitting in my pants, because after all, I've been shitting in my pants for my entire life up until this point. So I should just keep shitting in my pants, right? Because otherwise it would be a waste. Like, I don't want to have wasted all that time. No, you go like, I'm going to stop crapping my goddamn pants, and I'm going to wear some goddamn underpants and some pants like a big boy or a big girl. And then when you finished with your primary school or your early school, you don't go, oh, well, I really should like stay here and keep repeating the second grade because, it would be a waste if I moved on to the third grade. No, you damn well move on to the third grade, and then you leave school, you go to college, you leave college, you go on to the next thing. And so we have familiarity with the idea of moving from chapter to chapter, but sometimes we can get a little bit stuck with friendships or relationships or like a business venture, or in this case, like a 365-day project. And I have that happen too sometimes. Like I get stuck in stuff, and then after a while I go, wait, why am I doing this? Why do I think I need to continue doing this? And so I've gotten pretty decent in my life at cutting things off, at saying, ending things amicably and saying, hey, I think that I'm not really enjoying this anymore. Let's go in different directions. Or I want to stop seeing each other. Or, hey, I'm going to move on and go see someone else or do something else. Or I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to stop this. And I've gotten pretty damn good at, and I'm not perfect, but pretty damn good at cutting things off. Friendships, client relationships if I need to. And obviously within that, sometimes there's a lot of room for like improving it. And I don't like the word, but like, I won't use this word, but like improving the relationship, that happens a lot. But when it's quite apparent that I'm no longer happy having someone in my life, or they're not happy having me in my life, and I try and improve it and I try and fix it, but it's just not what I want anymore, I cut it off. And I do it with love, I do it with grace, I do it with as much kindness and compassion as I can, but I've gotten pretty good at cutting things off. And so I love that Dmitry is able to do this. So he goes on to say, I allowed myself to take a big break, which was unimaginable to me before. Yeah, I hinted at this earlier in this video, didn't I? Where I said that Dmitry, when he came to us, was the king of like cracking that whip over his back and expecting himself to do more and more and more. He was like one of the hardest workers I've ever known. Another really obvious example of a hard worker is, if we scroll back up, Dmitry mentioned him. Good old Ravi. Some of you will know Ravi. He's one of the sort of, I guess, senior members of this community, if you want to call him that. But when Ravi was in the coaching program, Ravi was one of our coaching clients for about 2 years. Man, Ravi was one of those people that just cracked the whip over his own back and would just expect himself to do all this crazy stuff. And he would beat himself up if he ever wasn't perfect. And it took us like a good, 6 months of saying to Ravi gently, and then sometimes a little more firmly, and then gently again, and then firmly again. It took us like 6 months to get Ravi to just take half a day off each week. And then from there, we were able to gently convince him to take a full day off every week. And that was just life-changing for him. But that took a lot of like gentle persuasion for sure. And Dmitry was the same. Like, man, with Dmitry, we really did have to convince him, like, dude, you're allowed to take breaks. So this is not a small thing. For him to say, I allowed myself to take a big break, which was unimaginable to me before. He's not exaggerating when he says that. Like, he really was someone that struggled to take a break. And a lot of you will be the same. I used to be the same too. I used to never take days off, but this is going back like quite a long time. For the last 7 years, I've had at least one day off every single week. And I spend that day off with Imogen, actually. And we do like a relationship check-in. We'll talk about what we like in the relationship. We will keep each other accountable with our goals. We'll talk about what we're grateful for, what we're happy with, what we would like to improve, anything that's on our mind, how we can make the relationship better, how we can make each of our individual lives better, both by ourselves and together. So I take at least one day off a week, and I take plenty of time off on top of that. But I have been known to burn the midnight oil, or what do they say, burn the candle at both ends at times. So I completely understand if some of you are hardcore, over-the-top hustlers who just put all this pressure on yourself and you refuse to take a day off, and you're sometimes a bit of a dick, or a bit of a, what's the female equivalent of a dick? Bit of a bitch? I mean that with love, but if you're a bit of a dick or a bit of a bitch to yourself sometimes and you expect perfection from yourself, that's okay. I used to be exactly like that, and still from time to time I am like that. So you don't have to be perfect. I'm not. Right, he goes on to say, and obviously that period was filled with many events, travels, and huge changes in life. You were right. It's impossible to turn off self-improvement mode. Yeah, so this, out of context, this won't seem like it makes any sense, but basically he and I had long conversations where he was worried. One of his big fears was, what if I fall off the wagon? What if I fall off track and I forget about self-improvement and I go back to the depressed, unhappy? Because he used to be suicidal, and he actually talked about it again in the video, which you can just go on the channel. Maybe I'll link it down below if I remember. The video is just, this guy made money, found peace and happiness, blah, blah, blah. That's the video. If I remember, I'll put it in the description. In this interview, he talked about his suicidal ideations and his self-harm. He used to self-harm quite a lot. So one of the things he was worried about is, and one of the reasons why he put so much pressure on himself to always be perfect and to always do more and more and more, was he was worried, he was terrified of going back to that old Dmitry, the one that self-harmed, the one that used to cut himself, the one that used to hate himself and want to die and all of that. And so he was scared. And I understand that, because that's what I went through. When I overcame my own depression and suicidal ideations, I'd been depressed and suicidal for about 8 or 9 years. When I worked through all of that and went to counselors and slowly improved my life over the next couple of years, as I evolved myself and went through all of that, yeah, I did put a lot of pressure on myself as well to do everything and be perfect, because I was sort of worried, what if I go back to that depressed, suicidal Andy? But after enough time, I came to realize, wait, I can't go. Like, when I say I can't go back, it's like it's literally impossible. It's like, in the Matrix, there's that analogy where Morpheus has the red pill and the blue pill. This is a screenshot from the movie. And by the way, this is one of my favorite movies of all time, The Matrix. But when Morpheus is holding these two options, the red pill and the red pill representing truth and the blue pill representing going back to your ignorant old life, where you forget everything that you've learned. There really is no choice there. It's like, are you going to take the blue pill? How do you even take the blue pill? Yeah, sure, I'd like to be ignorant. No, nobody really does that, especially not in self-improvement. So once you get a taste of self-improvement, you're basically, I won't say you're set for life. It's not that you won't have struggles and ups and downs. Of course you will. But once you really get into self-improvement and start overcoming some big things, and Dmitry lost a fuck ton of weight, he overcame his self-harm, obviously. He ended up having a lot of sex, which was something he never thought he could ever do. He traveled. He had some beautiful, amazing, intimate experiences with women. He let them in and was very vulnerable with them, which was something that he was terrified of. He told them about his past self-harm and his goals and his dreams and his hopes, and obviously shared a lot with us and started a coaching business himself. Like, he's obviously someone that's done a metric fuck ton of self-improvement. And he's clearly someone who knows how to be successful and happy and healthy and all of those beautiful things. And so he and I had long conversations where I was like, dude, like, you're not even capable of going back. Like, stop and list out, like, list out every single thing that would need to happen in order for you to go back to the old depressed person that you used to be. You would have to binge eat for a long enough period of time to gain all the weight back, and then never lose it ever again. You'd have to go back to self-harming. Are you even capable of that? And he was like, no, I could never hurt myself like that again. I know why I hurt myself, but no, I don't. I think even if you paid me $1 million, I couldn't hurt myself like that ever again. Like, it's just not possible. And we went through every single thing and systematically listed out every single one. And I was like, okay, and would you ever just like stop coaching other people and stop helping people forever for the rest of your life? Not taking a break. He's obviously taking a break right now, but taking a permanent break and never helping anyone else ever again. He's like, well, no. Okay, would you ever stop talking to women for the rest of your life? And he's like, no, I love women. Of course I would talk to them. Okay. Would you never go to the gym ever again? Well, no, I love the gym. And so I said, dude, like, you would have to like break your brain. Literally, you'd have to untake the red pill. You'd have to forget everything that you've learned and all of the changes that you've made to your brain, the permanent changes, by the way. You've literally rewired your neuroplasticity, the way your brain works. And so you're not even capable of going back. And so that's what this conversation here is. We basically had conversations where I was like, dude, you can't turn off self-improvement. Like, you're good. You're allowed to take breaks, take as many breaks as you want. And by the way, this isn't saying that you have to self-improve, but what I'm trying to get across to him, and I guess to you, is once you've really had a good taste of self-improvement and you've started achieving some goals, even just tiny little goals, like you lose 5 pounds and you're like, wow, holy shit, it becomes so addictive. And then it stops even being addictive. It just becomes who you are. You're just the person who has a goal and then they start taking some action towards it. And they take little baby steps and they're patient enough to wait for it to come. And then finally they achieve the thing and they go, wow, that's amazing. And then they do the next goal. Like, you're literally at some point no longer possible, or you're no longer capable of doing what I mentioned before, having that fixed mindset. At some point, you're no longer capable of having a fixed mindset. You have literally rewired your brain to have a growth mindset, and you're not even capable of thinking in terms of fixed mindset anymore. You might, from time to time, with certain goals, like you might think that's hopeless, I can't do that, I'm stuck, blah, blah, blah. But generally speaking, you will then eventually figure out a solution, which, funnily enough, conveniently enough, is yet another one of the chapters in my video course. And there's a link in the description to the video course, by the way, with all of this stuff. But yeah, at some point you do realize, shit, like I'm fine. I'll always find my way back to self-improvement. And even if I take a break or I fall off the wagon for a little bit or whatever, like, again, it's not a test. Nobody's judging me. It doesn't matter if I fall off the wagon. It's fine, but I will eventually come back. Basically, what I was teaching him with this is have faith. You'll be okay. And in my coaching program, this, by the way, what I'm showing on the screen is like one of the back ends of the coaching program. This is like our video library. We have like a whole bunch of videos and courses and shit. We got like a whole bunch of stuff. You can sort of see it over here. We've got like courses, videos, training, blah, 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 blah. But so these are all like video courses and training that's like just for coaching clients. This is all like the extra members only shit that I've done and Cam has done and a couple of other people have done. And in here, I literally have a video. Look, and I even have that. You can see it right here. I even have that little graphic, that little image from the Matrix. And in this audio or this video, it's literally called There's No Going Back, You Won't Quit. And I talked about, because this is a doubt that comes up a hell of a lot. I talked about like the idea of, you're going to have moments where you feel frustrated or hopeless and you think like, am I going to quit? And so in this audio, I literally go step by step of like how you basically show yourself or you check with yourself if you're even capable of quitting. Like I literally talk you through like how to ask the question, am I even capable of quitting? And again, for most of you and for a lot of you listening, but definitely for my coaching clients, by the time someone signs up for coaching, they're really fucking serious about their self-improvement. But for even most of you, quitting just isn't an option because you've experienced enough self-improvement and you kind of can't go back. And you're allowed to go back if you want to, by the way. This isn't me saying that you're not allowed to go back, but the idea of going back is just weird. Like for me, especially, once you've done self-improvement for a long enough time, like I have, for someone like me, Andy, the idea of going back to that depressed person who just sat around wanting to cut his wrists every day, like fucking hell. Well, first of all, that was like 15 years ago. So was it 15 years ago? Like 13 years ago. So like such a long time that doesn't even feel like me anymore anyway. But like once you've achieved enough stuff, you're just not going back. So that audio, if you sign up for the coaching, you can listen to that. But anyway, I just told you a lot of what's in that audio anyway. But yeah, this is, I know I'm really hammering this point because this is such a freaking big thing. This was a huge realization for Dmitry. And a lot of these big realizations that we have in the coaching program, these like big life-changing things, are like the deepest stuff. Like a lot of the deep stuff that we work with people in the coaching program, and I guess my content as well, or this community as well, is getting right to the heart of that stuff that really makes you tick. Like getting in there in your brain and basically saying, look, one of your biggest fears is that you'll go back to the old person that you used to be. Are you even capable of that? And I remember when I sat down, it was on a one-on-one call with him, and he wouldn't mind me talking about this because we talked about it on a podcast already. So it's a public, it's on the public record anyway. But on that call where he first realized, I first showed him or got him to show himself that, no, you're not capable of quitting, dude. Like you're now the self-improvement person. He literally started crying on that call because it was just such a big thing for him. He was like, oh my God, like, yeah, like, thank you for this realization. So he's come a hell of a long way. Even when I felt, so I'll keep reading. Even when I felt like I was completely useless, I was still making breakthroughs here and there. Yeah. From the biggest ones, I finally did a vasectomy. Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, he'd wanted a vasectomy for a long time. If any of you give a shit, I had a vasectomy as well when I was 28, so that's like 8 or 9 years ago. I visited 2 new countries, and I had awesome romantic fling in Budapest, and even met some of our crew when I went there. That's amazing. So I'm assuming he's talking about old coaching clients or like past coaching clients, and everyone in the coaching program keeps in touch. We have, as part of the coaching program, we have like a little Discord. I mean, I say little, there's like 100 people in there. We have a Discord group that's like members only Discord, only for coaching clients, and everybody stays in there for the rest of their life. And it's basically like an extended coaching program. People use that as like a coaching program. They coach each other, and our coaches are in there. So everybody basically, it feels like a little family. It feels like when you sign up for the coaching, you join a family, which is cool. I really like jumping in there, and everyone's so freaking nice to each other. And I don't have to do anything. It's just they're all coaching each other. It's amazing. It's really cool. We have like an incredibly supportive, like everyone that joins the community, even most of you listening in the YouTube audience, like everyone here is so freaking nice. I can't believe that this is how I get to make my money. This is how I get to live my life, like helping people, and all of you help each other. And you've all helped me so unbelievably tremendously, like with all the nice comments that you write, even all the, there's not a lot, but even some of the negative comments that I get challenge me and help me humble myself and challenge my ego and help me reduce my ego. So I'm super grateful for every single one of you lovely guys and you lovely girls and you lovely non-guys and non-girls, because we got to be, or I want to be PC and woke, because you all know me, I'm super PC and woke. So all of you non-binaries out there, much love to the non-binary community as well. I do actually mean that, by the way. I know I joke about like PC culture and wokeness and stuff from time to time, but like I do want everyone to feel good. Anyway, Irrelevant tangents. Let's get back on topic. I even realized that I actually love my current workplace a lot. Before, I made myself hate it because it wasn't what I want to do forever. Yeah, man. Oh my God. I used to I had periods of time where I hated workplaces too. And then I was like, wait, why do I hate this workplace? And then I was like, well, because I don't want to work here until I'm like 70 years old. And it's like, yeah, so don't. And then as soon as I realized that, I was like, oh, wait, I actually like this workplace. It's amazing. It's like super chill. I get paid decent. All the people are amazing. So I worked at a warehouse and that was the same thing. For a while, I hated the warehouse job. I was like, man, fuck this job. Like, it's like a long commute. It was like a 2.5 hour commute. I had to go on public transport, like 2.5 hours there and 2.5 hours back. And the reason that I stuck at that job was because it allowed me, while I was commuting, sitting on a bus, it allowed me to write articles for my blog and to coach people. Like I would write long emails to them and kind of coach them via email as best I could. And sometimes I would take Zoom calls on a bus, which was like basically impossible. But yeah, when I realized that, I was like, wait, this job's amazing. This job gives me so much freedom. So yeah, it's funny the stories that we tell. People do the same shit about relationships. Hey, they'll be like, man, I can't see myself being with this person forever. So should I break up with them? And then I will ask them, well, are you having fun with this person right now? And they'll go, yeah. And I'll say, is this person adding to your life right now? And they'll say, yeah, we have amazing sex. We hang out. We have, we'll sometimes go for walks together. We spend a bit of time. We're like friends with benefits, but it's like really nice. There's some intimacy there. There's some closeness. I kind of care about them. And I'll say, okay, and do you think you're adding to their life? And they'll say, yeah, they seem to tell me that like they're glad that I'm around. And then I'll say, so why are you breaking up? And they'll say, well, because, I just don't know if I see a long-term future with this person. And I'll say like, okay, well, like how important to you is it right now at this point in time for you to build a long-term future with someone? Like, is that something that's very important to you? If it is, great. Like if it isn't, we should know that. And they'll say, well, I'm only 22, so I guess I don't actually care about building anything long-term yet. Maybe like in 3 years or 5 years from now, I will. And then I'll go, so do you actually want to break up with this person? And they'll go, huh, wait, I kind of like this person. And maybe I can just be happy seeing them for a little bit and be very clear and honest with them about that and say, look, I don't see a long-term future, but are you happy just seeing each other casually? They go away and they have that conversation. And then they're like, wow, I guess this doesn't have to be like a forever relationship. I can just enjoy it in the moment right now. And it's adding to my life. I'm adding to their life. Beautiful. And if ever at some point we're not happy with that and we want something more long-term with someone else, beautiful. We'll split and we'll go find that. So yeah, sometimes we put pressure on ourselves that the thing we're doing has to be the forever thing. And especially with relationships. I've said this a million times. I have literally never, ever thought to myself, is Imogen the person that I can be with forever? I've literally never had that thought ever. Like, why would I have that thought? Because I don't know if she'll be here forever. She might fucking die tomorrow. I might get hit by a bus tomorrow. She might break up with me tomorrow. I might break up with her 10 years from now. How the hell can I predict the future? The world is like chaos and beautiful chaos, but chaos. And so how the hell can I know if Imogen is going to be here forever? And so I've never put that pressure on myself. I've just said, is she adding to my life? Am I adding to her life? If so, let's keep seeing each other. And the moment that that isn't true, and there has been some points when that wasn't true. There have been some points when I felt like she's not adding to my life. And there's been points where she felt like I'm not adding to her life. And then we will sit down and we'll talk about it. And we'll say, hey, I feel like this relationship isn't adding to my life. Cool. What do we want to do about it? Well, could we improve this? Yeah, I think we can improve this. What if we try this? And we try some things. And then a couple of months later, how do you feel now? Wow, I feel really good. We actually solved all of those problems. I'm really happy now. This is adding to my life. Is it adding to your life? Yes. Cool. Great. Do you want to keep seeing each other? Hell yeah. And that's all we've ever done. We've been together for 6 years now at this point. And again, I can't predict the future, but I am unbelievably happy with her. I can't see that changing, but I can't predict the future. And she is unbelievably happy with me, and she can't see that changing, but she can't predict the future. And so that's all we've ever done. But yeah, that's relationships, that's business. A lot of the time we put all this pressure on ourselves that like, this thing has to be the thing that I'm going to do for the rest of my life and it has to make me happy forever. And it's like, that's a lot of fucking pressure. That's a big burden to put on someone else or a big burden to put on a workplace, a big burden to put on yourself. So He goes on to say, Dmitry goes on to say, now I can be patient and enjoy the process with all of the opportunities it gives me for the time being. I can be grateful for it. Yeah. A lot of the time when you put pressure on yourself that like a workplace or a relationship has to be what I want to do forever, it's like you're not actually grateful for the fucking thing. Like you're not actually asking yourself those questions that I said before of like, is this actually adding to my life? Do I actually like this relationship or this workplace? And you might find if you let go of the concept of forever, as if you could ever predict the future. Also, forever. No, I'm sorry, one day you're going to die. I literally covered this in a video, like literally as I record this. This was yesterday's video called Scared of Dying Full of Regrets, How to Make Peace with Death Instead. And I literally talked about like, if you have this fear of death, and everyone really does until they embrace it, but embracing your fear of death and realizing that nothing is forever because one day you will die helps you sort of like actually live in the moment and be grateful for stuff because you're not putting on this pressure that this job has to be what I want to do forever. You can kind of relax a bit and be like, well, one day I'm going to fucking die, so nothing is forever. Okay, cool. Like, am I happy just being at this workplace right now? And if the answer is yes, great, do that. If the answer is no, change it. So he goes on to say, I have 2 great friends with benefits / partners for almost the whole of this year. I even had 3 for a couple of months. I made many improvements in relationships with them and some new friends. Okay, this kind of made me giggle because it reminded me of made me think of like Pokemon. I got 3 friends with benefits. I collected 3 Pokemon. And that can be how people talk sometimes. I've talked like that sometimes where I'm like, I got 3 girls that I'm seeing right now. It's like, I got 3 little Pokemon. Anyway, that's amazing. Dmitry is like such a fucking lovely guy. And we talked in the interview that I did with him. Again, this was the interview here. And we talked about some of the women that he had dated and been friends with benefits. He had some like amazing intimate experiences with them and really like opened up. Like he opened up a lot, especially one of them that only wanted to be friends. And for the longest time, he had this story of like men and women can't be friends. A lot of people have that story. And obviously, if you don't want to be friends with the opposite gender, you don't have to. I'm never going to say that you have to do anything. But I used to think like that. I used to think like women can't be my friends. And now I've had some wonderful friendships with women. And he ended up having a woman that was like, I don't want to have sex. I think I just want to be friends. And he was like, well, fuck that. Like, I don't need friends. Go away. And he ended up contacting her halfway through the coaching program because he had a big epiphany halfway through the program where, basically we talked to him about some stuff and being more open-minded. And he had this big epiphany himself. And he's like, I think I want to reach out to this girl. I haven't talked to her in like 6 months or something and see if she still wants to be friends. And they ended up being friends and it was amazing. She added so much to his life. I think they're still friends today, but that was a huge step for him. And again, you don't have to be friends with people if you don't want to, but he wanted to, but he just told himself his whole life that men and women shouldn't be friends. So he goes on to say, I made some new friends. So this time was very insightful. I think when he says this time, I think he's talking about the break from business and from the 365-day project. So yeah, it's funny how breaks can be incredibly insightful and some of the best time that we could ever spend. Unless you use that break, like I said, to go and sit on a freaking anthill and have this happen to you. My leg, by the way, this happened, what I'm showing on screen, this happened like 4 hours ago. I'm literally looking at my leg right now. It's actually more red than what's in this picture. It's like on fire. My leg is still on fire. So don't use your time. Don't use your relaxing time to go and sit on an anthill. I didn't do it on purpose, whatever. Anyway, he goes on to say, this time that I didn't sit on an anthill, but I relaxed, was very insightful. It also allowed me to relax and get energy. Yeah, a lot of the time, that's the big reason why we talk about having a day off every week, because it allows you to recharge your batteries and get that energy. And then you achieve more over the next week anyway, over the next 6 days. So you're actually less effective. If you try and just work 7 days a week like some sort of mad grinder, like you end up being less effective. At least all the people that we've seen and ourselves. We find like having at least one, if not two, but one is fine. Having 1 day off a week seems to work best for most people. In the last months, my focus and drive returned stronger than ever. Yeah, that's what happens when you take a big break. I've taken many big breaks. I had a break over Christmas and I did minimal work. I still did a little bit, if I'm honest. I answered some questions in the coaching program and did some voice messages for some of my clients and stuff like that. But I took a bit of a break and I usually do that over Christmas. In the last months, my focus and drive returned stronger than ever. I made some great changes to style that I had planned for years. I faced things that terrified me, like talking with girls in bars and clubs. That's amazing. That was something that he talked about doing when he was in the program. Being honest with people about deeply personal stuff, that's a big one as well. Like most people go their entire life not really opening up with people about deep personal stuff, and then you end up feeling like you're locked in your own head or locked in your own brain, like you're living your own secret world of like pain and suffering and like sadness and loneliness or whatever it might be that you're feeling. And you tell stories or you feel like I could never tell anyone about this stuff because they'll think less of me, they'll hate me, blah blah blah. And one of the things that we do a lot with, or we encourage a lot in our coaching program and in the content that I do with all of you here, is encouraging people, if they want to really open up and be honest with the people in their lives. And basically every single time I've ever seen someone open up, beautiful things happen. Every now and then you might have someone react negatively, where they say, why are you telling me that, you pussy? But that's really rare. That's like, I don't know, 1 in 50 times. And that's also a beautiful thing. If you open up and someone has a negative reaction or they tease you or they shun you or they think less of you, beautiful. Now you've learned, hey, this is not someone that I want to be honest with, and maybe I'll see them a little bit less, or maybe I just won't open up with them and I'll have a casual friendship with them and I'll go find someone else to open up with. So that can be great too. So he says, back to the forums too. I feel so much gratitude for things and people in my life. I am truly enjoying every moment. I feel like that's the goal of everyone, right? That's kind of the secret of life, secret of happiness. It's not even a secret because I'm literally telling you right now, and books since the dawn of time have told you this. It's in every single spirituality book. It's in every single Buddhism book. It's in every self-help book. It's in every enlightenment book. Every therapist will tell you this. Well, not necessarily, but like lots of therapists will tell you this. How do you be happy? Enjoy every moment. It's what all the Stoics talked about. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Byron Katie, who I just call a Stoic. She basically is. All of those beautiful people, Seneca, all of them talk about, every Buddhist, a lot of the old religious scholars, like Thomas A. Kempis, all of those kind of people. I don't know how familiar any of you are with Christianity and stuff like that, but everyone sort of talks about enjoying every moment. Live in the moment. Seize the day. Carpe diem. If you can be happy now, then you can be happy anytime. For now, the type of business slash coaching I was starting back then is on pause. I love the feeling of helping people. Yeah, he got a lot of fun out of that. It was really fun helping him start his business. Again, he started a coaching business, basically doing exactly what I'm doing, or what myself and Cam and Ed and Taylor, my other 3 coaches are all doing. And he was really passionate about that. We've had quite a few people start coaching businesses, actually. We've had another guy, Chris. Who else have we had? Had like 3 or 4 guys. We've had, I don't want to name them all because I don't know if they're all comfortable me naming them, but Chris is another one. He's got his own YouTube channel. We've had quite a few people that have started like coaching businesses, doing exactly what we're doing, which is cool. And I mean, that makes sense. Like if you watch me and you see that I'm a coach, you can see that I get so much joy out of it because you hear me talk about it all the time. So it makes sense that people would go, wow, Andy seems to like that. Maybe I'll try that. So yeah, it makes sense. Part of me still wants it, but another part wants something else as my life purpose. Yeah, whenever I talk about life purpose, because people get themselves caught up in life purpose, where they're like, I can't figure out what my life purpose is. I've said this a million times, and Dmitry already knows this because he and I had conversations about this a lot during coaching. You don't necessarily need to find a life purpose forever, which is exactly what I was talking about before, up here when I was talking about forever, where I was saying you don't need to know what job you're going to do forever. You don't need to know what relationship you're going to have forever. At some point, you're going to die, so nothing is forever anyway. That's like a basic tenet of most of my coaching and most of my content. But, with like purpose, with your life purpose, it doesn't need to be a life purpose. Take out the word life. There you go. Boom. Purpose. And that kind of solves the problem. In other words, can I just find a purpose for right now? I've done so much content. I literally did a podcast over on my Spotify channel called something like trying to find your life purpose. Just find a purpose for right now. And I literally said, if you struggle to figure out what your meaning of life is or something, take off that pressure. Give yourself permission to suck. Humble yourself a little bit. Not to say that you're arrogant, but like bring it back down to humility. And just say, can I find a purpose for today? Can I find a purpose for the next few months? What do I want to do right now? I'll just do that. And I won't worry about having some sort of big overarching purpose or a life meaning because your purpose changes anyway. My purpose has changed like 10 times over my life. So just do whatever makes you happy now, whatever fulfills you now. And then if that lasts for a month or a year or 10 years or 5 years, it doesn't really matter. You just go with what feels good. So, if any of you care, my purpose right now, like me, Andy, I mean, it's pretty apparent, isn't it? My purpose right now is to serve people and help people. That's my purpose. But that could change. Like, I don't think that'll change, but that could. How do I know? That could change 10 years from now. He goes on to say, maybe I'll just keep it as a hobby while doing other stuff, but I know I will figure it out after my current goals. Yeah. And figuring out some sort of purpose, again, your purpose can be as simple as like, I'll just work on my current goals. Like if any of you are listening and putting all this pressure on yourself that you have to know what your life purpose is or something, what if you just pick a goal and work towards it? And if you can't pick a goal, here's my go-to answer. Because sometimes I will sit down with someone for coaching or something, and I'll say, all right, what are your goals? And they'll say, I don't know. And I'll go, okay, well, like what goals do you want? And they'll go, I don't know. And then I'll go, okay, what would be really cool to have or to do? Like what would just be really cool when you think about it? You're like, man, that'd be so cool. Like what's exciting? What would just be really cool if you could do that? And they think about it and they're like, well, it'd kind of be cool if I could make $1,000 a month, like on the side on top of my job. And I'm like, sweet, there you go. That's your purpose. Let's do that. And then they'll go, but don't I need some sort of like life purpose? It's like, no. Why do you need a life purpose? Your life purpose can be, I'll just do cool things. You can be the man or the woman who does cool, fun things and makes a few other people smile along the way and maybe inspires one or two people while you do it. There you go. That's your life purpose. I just made that up for you. That's your fucking life purpose. Go. So your purpose can just be, I'm going to try some goals and have a bit of fun along the way. Maybe your goal can be a philosophy like, I'm going to be kind to people and compassionate. That's sort of one of my goals, or it's my purpose, I guess. But you could make another goal. Every week, I'm just going to do one thing to improve myself in some small way. There you go. That's a great life purpose. Or I'm going to help one person every single day, even in the smallest possible way, every day. That's a great life purpose. I will smile at one human being every single day. That's a great purpose. So you can just make up your purpose. That's all everyone does. I know a lot of people put pressure on themselves that you have to figure out your life purpose. And you might make the fallacy or the mistake of looking at me, Andy, or anyone else that you follow as a coach or a content creator or whatever. You might make the mistake of looking at us and assuming, oh, this guy has his shit together and he has a life purpose and how come I can't figure out my life purpose? It's like, I don't have a life purpose. I'm just making this shit up as I go. I'm just doing what feels good to me. I'm doing what I think will bring some sort of happiness to my life and happiness to those around me and happiness to all of you. And that's all I do. So don't make the mistake of assuming that like I or anyone else has all the answers to life and you're just the retard who doesn't have the answers. No, we're all just like figuring it out as we go. Again, life isn't a test. It's not a game where someone's keeping a scorecard and at the end you either succeed or fail depending on whether or not you had a purpose or not. No, we're all just kind of making up the rules as we go along and we're having fun. If you're not having fun, that's okay too. You're allowed to have fun if you want to. He goes on to say, I found out that my main goal now, as it always was, is figuring out dating in all its ways, and mainly internal framework required to embrace my desires and go for it. Yeah, he was someone who had a lot of shame around his masculinity and his sexuality and intimacy. He had a lot of shame, or maybe not shame around intimacy, but weirdness around intimacy. He was a little afraid of it, which a lot of people are. A lot of people are very afraid about intimacy, aren't they? So that's great that he's embracing his desires, embracing what he wants. For the near future, I'm fully focused on improving my courage with girls, dating, social skills, and building an amazing body. He already has a pretty good body. So yeah, I can't wait to see him improve it even more. I see that I make so much progress here and I am so excited for it. And obviously I will improve all other areas of my life too, one step at a time. Yeah, that's key. While enjoying every moment of it. Yeah, that last sentence is like a very big life change or a very big switch for him because he very much wasn't enjoying his self-improvement. He thought it had to be a struggle. He was like beating himself up. He was putting on this pressure on himself. So that's absolutely lovely to see that he's at this point. I knew he was at this point anyway. By the time he finished the coaching, he was enjoying life anyway. But that's great to get an update like 1 year later. It's basically 1 year after the coaching ends. So here goes my update. I'm going to be one more voice to say you are making this world a better place. Thank you so much, Andy. P.S. If for some reason you would like to share this with anyone, you can. Yeah, like I said, he gave permission. So yeah, there we go. Isn't that nice? Dmitry update. There you go. Like I said, you can watch the video over here. I'll put a link to it. I promise I won't forget. But if I do forget, I'm really sorry. But I promise I won't forget. But I might forget. But I promise not to. But everybody breaks promises, including me. As always, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, go out there and crush those goals. And obviously, if you want a bit of help, you want some coaching like Dmitry had, sit down with me. That can be either one-on-one or it can be group coaching. I will leave links in the description below to both of those options. Wow, it is very dark here. It got dark in the time that I was recording this podcast. It was sunset and now it's pitch black outside. So thank you for sticking with me for this beautiful hour together. Links in the description below to coaching. I will run the beautiful outro so you can get a little bit more information for the coaching program if you're interested. Oh, and I'll leave links to the Play to Win video course that I mentioned, the one that I showed on screen a whole bunch and I talked about some of the chapters. That's down below. That's $1 if you want to grab that. You can pay more if you would like to give Andy a little bit more money, and I would love you if you did that. Or if you paid $1, I would love you if you gave me just $1 as well. All the links down below. As always, go out there and crush those goals. Whatever your goals might be, whether that's money, relationships, sex and dating, fitness, health, friendships, whatever, we are here to help you make those beautiful goals come to life. Ed did it. Taylor did it. Harry did it. None of them are special. If you're listening to this, you know you're capable of more than you're currently giving. You already want something more than what everybody else around you seems to be content with. You want to achieve more, be more, give more to the world. You know it, and I know it. You're destined for something beautiful. Click the link to the coaching in the description below, and let us help you get there. Happiness starts today.